Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is August 24th, I believe. Yes, 24th, 2018. Happy Friday. Woo! We're here. All right. So let's get into some space weather here. I've got a lot to talk about. I'm excited about tonight's show. I'll get into that. KP indices sitting right now at a 1, and our 24-hour max was a 3. Now today they are predicted a maximum of 4. That did not happen. Tomorrow's prediction is going to be around a 3, and that's because some believe that we may experience a slight effect from the CME that was headed this way either today or tomorrow. So again, not G1 magnetic storms or anything like, or geomagnetic storms, I should say. Our solar wind speeds are sitting right now at 333.7 kilometers per second with a density of about 5.07. And we will take a look at our sunspot activity, and I will talk more about that as well as we look. Now, right now, it's not listing AR 2719 as it is dying, but then earlier today it did show some growth as well. And I wanted to refresh this real quick. That was interesting. 2719 is still around. Here is our total days without sunspots. But let's take a look at our sun here and notice this region right here as the sun is now, the sunspot I should say, is turning Earth away, and we get a little bit of growth right above that sunspot. So a possibility, we're keeping our eyes on it. This one had died out and then begun to grow again, AR 2719. And now we have some more action appearing over here as well. So we will keep our eyes if there is any kind of alerts or anything like that for any kind of solar activity. Right now, all is quiet. There is a coronal hole to the northern part of the region here where we might experience any disturbances. NOAA believes it'll be very minor. Taking a look at our TSI readings for August 17th, 2018. We came in with TSI at 1360.745. Again, our TSI reading for August 17th, 2018 was 1360.745. Let's jump right into the big news of the night, and that is Lane. I'm going to read a little bit about this and show you guys some actual radar and map. We know that Hurricane Lane has barreled through Hawaii, or not actually made landfall, but as big as this storm is, it is definitely affecting the Big Island right now. We have seen as much as 35 inches of rain falling within the last 48 hours. The storm had maximum sustained winds of 105 when it was moving at just 5 miles per hour. Now, as of 4 hours ago, actually, you know what? We have updates that are every 8 hours. Let's see if we can find that. Last time I had checked, we had sustained winds at right around 105. And let's see. I apologize. I thought it'd be, yep, here we go. 85 miles an hour. So we are seeing this storm starting to weaken like we thought. But here's the problem with Lane right now. It is weakening, but it also is slowed down. So now we're talking about... as you can see, the Big Island now getting some more precipitation. Parts of that island have received 35 inches of rain in the last 48 hours, and now we are looking to see some heavy precip as this storm is doing its northerly direction, and then it will take a sharp left turn and pull out west. But the problem here is that this storm is weakening. That's the good thing, but it also is slowing down. So when you think about the intensity of the rain diminishing, which we don't see those dark reds anymore, it's just yellow, oranges, and reds, but now we're 3 miles slower, this storm is barely moving. And that could spell even more trouble for flash floods. So I wanted to point that out really quick. They are not out of the woods by any means. Even though this storm is being taken down a notch here, they're not out of the woods. Let's see. There's so much rain, the drainage is all saturated, said the Hawaii County Managing Director, Will Okobe. We're just letting nature take its course, getting water down to the ocean, responding to any rescues. Friday morning, a brush fire had started on the island of Maui forced a hurricane shelter to evacuate in Lahaina. The flames spread to 300 acres, and officials said a woman who was burned in the hands and legs was flown to Honolulu. They mentioned this fire a couple different times as if they're not sure why. I'll get that out of the way. Sorry. They're not sure why we were looking at... they were curious to see what started this fire. They still don't know. Health officials warn that the Hurricane Lane has caused storm water runoff enter an ocean, posing possible health risks to the swimmers and surfers. If the water is brown, stay out. Beaches are closed all over the area. People are actually swimming and surfing still at the famed Waikiki Beach in Honolulu, despite police and fire vehicles blasting out periodic warnings that the beach is closed. Everyone needs to leave. 6,000 customers in Maui's Lahaina community have lost power, though some have restored, Hawaiian electrician spokesman Peter Rosich said on Friday. Nearly 2,600 customers are without power on Molokai, a small island with about 7,000 residents. Power outages affected about 4,000 people on the Big Island, which seen near 3 feet of rain in over 2 days. Floods closed major roads on Hawaii's Big Island. Hurricanes taking the toll on roads in Hawaii's Big Island, with 3 major roads closed due to flash flooding, according to officials. They also said early Friday morning local time that only 1 highway was available to travel across the island. Numerous secondary roads were also closed. Here they are talking about that brush fire again. They're trying to figure out who did that. Very concerned with that as well. It just ignited right before the floods came. Please listen to FEMA. They're telling everyone to please heed the warning. This is not a joke. Please take this very seriously. Over 1,500 spent the night in shelters last night as well. Now it says here that Lane triggers major flooding on the Big Island. The monster storm is expected to bring torrential rains to the islands. That was exactly what the Big Island saw through much of the day on Thursday and, of course, Friday today. Let's see if we can get a look at some of the waters here, the raging waters, I should say. As if Hawaii doesn't have enough issues right now. I was reading today too, you know, when this water does start to recede, we will have other issues as well, like in Kerala, where their waters are now finally receding, and their issue they're having right now, they're dealing with snakes and stuff like that. So I don't know how what the terrain is like in Hawaii. I'm sure there's some exotic animals. There's all kinds of risks, but right now the big concern, Lane's already been a rainmaker, and he's going to continue to throw down some heavy rain for the next several hours. We will keep our eyes on this storm and come through with any breaking news if needed. And new erupt activity started at Etna's new southeast crater on August 23rd, 2018 and continued into today. The eruption began after seismic network detected a sharp increase in seismicity under the volcano right around 1830 UTC time. The tremor was accompanied by a mild strombolian activity from the new cone between the northeast crater and the new southeast crater. Short lava flows were observed for a couple of hours along the southeast flank. Of course they can't play this video. Why put him here? It's probably because we're live. They can pick that up, I think. They don't like it when you stream live. Here's some images of it, though. We can show you pictures. Again, nothing new. This is Europe's, I think, tallest volcano, Mount Etna. So nothing unusual. It does erupt from time to time, but just reporting that we do have another volcanic eruption. Very strong and deep 7.1 earthquake hits Peru, Brazil border region. Very strong and deep earthquake registered at the USGS as a 7.1 hit Peru, Brazil border region at 9:04 UTC on August 24th, 2018. The agency is reporting a depth of 378 miles. Again, no damage has been done to any structures so far. There are no injuries or any fatalities that have been reported. Thanks again to the watchers for keeping us up. Again, another day, another earthquake over 6.2. This has got to be somewhere around between the last 7 to 10 days we have seen this. And, you know, we always talk about when global warmists are reporting records that aren't true, or I'm sorry, agencies, weather agencies that report records that aren't true when it comes to hot weather. But here I found a snow record that I wanted to share with you guys because we're fair here at the Grand Solar Minimum channel. If there's a heat record that gets renounced, we're going to tell you about it. But we also want to tell you about this snow record here in western Pennsylvania in Erie during Christmas of last year. They are now investigating this, as the person who did the actual official measurements at the airport was not actually qualified and trained all the way to do what is supposed to be done when it comes to measuring these. But I read this article. It's really interesting. It turns out Pennsylvania didn't break a snowfall records in December of 2017, according to NOAA, and it was at least partly because of a traffic cone. NOAA on Wednesday approved a panel of weather experts' recommendation to invalidate 24-hour and monthly snowfall records supposedly set at Erie, Pennsylvania in 2017. Erie recorded a record-setting 50.8 inches of snowfall around Christmas Day, and the record maximum monthly snowfall was 120.9 inches for the month. In total, Erie reportedly accumulated 191.5 inches of snow last winter season, but those figures are being disputed. It says here, a state climate extremes committee not only found problems with the snowfall measurements taken by observers at the Erie airport, but also the possibility of a systematic error in the way snow accumulation was measured throughout the winter of 2017. Based upon this documented body of evidence, the committee recommended NOAA continue to recognize the 38-inch 24-hour record for that area from March of 20th of 1958 in Morgantown, Pennsylvania, and the 117.8-inch monthly maximum snowfall in Laurel Summit in Pennsylvania during February of 2010. So what they're saying is, because of the discrepancy of this record, they don't even want to acknowledge the entire event yet because they have to reevaluate these snow totals. Now, they're not saying Erie didn't get snowed on. It got a lot of snow, owing the so-called lake effect caused by cold air moving across warm lake water. Lake Erie's low ice coverage played a role in allowing snow to cascade during December of 2017, which was true. But while Erie might have gotten a lot of snow, weather experts have doubts whether or not the lake saw record-setting snow. For starters, snow observers at Erie's airport reported way more snow than nearby areas. And we're not talking about like 5 to 6 inches. They're saying 18 to 22 inches of snow from stations that were only 2 to 9 miles away from the Erie airport. So again, like I said, we report when there might be discrepancies in these hot record temperatures as well. And I thought it would be fair to go ahead and share this as well, that the method of measuring is, I guess there is these boards that they use, and you're supposed to wipe them clean every so intervals that you are doing the measurement. And apparently this person that was measuring did not, they weren't wiping it away like they should be. So there was no real way to gauge the actual snowfall. And also there, when you're talking about depth, depth could be from a lot of things, not from accumulation, but from snowdrift as well. So lots of question marks. I can tell you one thing. Mari and I did drive through Erie, PA, right after that snowstorm, and I was impressed. The one thing I kept telling Mari was, man, for a town that got almost 60 inches of snow, they were able to clear this away pretty quick. And we drove right through Erie, and the roads were in great shape. Now, it looked like it snowed a lot, but, not that I can eyeball what 50 inches and 38 inches looks like, but just interesting article. And, it's important on both sides of the fence that we do this fair. People that are supposed to be using a certain method, and I'll read it right here. It says Measuring snowfall can be tricky. Government guidelines require trained observers to measure snowfall accumulation with snowboards, which sometimes can be just square pieces of plywood painted white. The snowboard should be placed somewhere it's not likely to be disturbed, then measured and wiped clean at a regular interval once snow starts to fall. The Washington Post noted problems with using a snowboard to measure snowfall in D.C. in 2016. Well, we all know why the Washington Post noted problems, because they're a bunch of morons over there, and they sure can't write. So what makes anybody think they'd be able to keep track of measuring snow in such a methodical event? So, you know, that's why they had problems. But anyway, I'll leave the link in the description. You guys can check this out, read a little bit more. There's a few links here. And here's an article I liked. America First Energy Conference was amazing day. Ted Huelskamp, the president of Heartland Institute, was quoted saying that. They were at a America First Energy Conference held on 7th of August in New Orleans. And he's quoted saying, "You're going to learn a lot about so many issues in the media do not want us to, or doesn't want you to know about." Indeed, we did. The single day that was packed in with presentations from representatives of the government, science, and think tanks determined to set the record straight on where America stands, where it needs to go on energy. Now, the AFEC, which brought together what may be considered the most talented team of energy and policy experts ever assembled, consisted of more than a dozen panel discussions and keynote talks at each meal. Ample time was allowed for questions from a well-educated audience, which added greatly to the event. And most of the people that follow this topic are pretty well educated. Your knowledge on this subject continues to amaze me, and I'm talking about most of our subs out there who subscribe to this channel, who comment, who write emails, who post on our Facebook pages. So it's not surprising to hear they had a sharp audience. But they were talking about all the electricity and what was needed to power Houston, and they're trying to show you how much corn you would have to run if we were running the more ether-based type fuel, and you know, it's a lot more land of that we have to resource for that kind of fueling. But it was just trying to show the pros and cons of green energy and fossil fuels. Also wanted to note as well that Roy Spencer, principal research scientist at the University of Alabama, Huntsville, received an award for valor in the face of extreme opposition to his outstanding work on satellite measurements that show conclusively that carbon dioxide has played no significant role in altering the temperature of the planet. This has got to be the best paragraph of the entire article. Thank you, Jay Lear and Tom Harris. And this is Epoch Times. Not so familiar with this news organization, but they seem to be straight up. But that is the truth right there. The 100% truth lays in that paragraph, that carbon dioxide has played no significant role in altering the temperature of the planet. Now, does that mean that Roy is not acknowledging that there isn't a role that's played? And nobody, I don't think anybody can say one way or the other if there is no role that humans play in climate, but there is no significant role is what we're trying to prove, like Mr. Roy Spencer. There's not going to be a catastrophe type event because of human impact on climate change. But very, very good sentence right there. Very good paragraph, I should say. In his panel presentation on CO2, he argued that there is no negatives for the increasing amount of CO2 in our atmosphere. It is a miracle molecule that makes life possible on Earth. This was from Roy Spencer. I love this guy. I'm going to really try hard to get an interview with him. I'd love to have him on, just pick his brain for a little bit, let him talk about the work that he's done. I've seen many hearings where he is testifying to the government about CO2, and I think he's been there enough and people are listening enough now to where that's why you're starting to see policy change all over with the EPA and these coal plants that are starting to fire back up again. So here's the fun part of the show tonight. we've already had one asshole of the week. That was Stevie Wonder. And Stevie wrote a great song about climate change and how, you know, all that good stuff. But I follow this young man, or I should say old gentleman. He's out of Buffalo News. He also works for a Channel 7 ABC in Buffalo as well. What was the call letters again, Mari? WKBW, to have it all correct here. But Mr. Don Paul, I have to do this piece on you tonight because I'm very disturbed. I even read this word for word twice just to make sure that I wouldn't shoot myself in the foot with what I'm getting ready to do here. But I want to read you this article because this is good shit. This was published on the 21st of August. Some fairly basic physics made decades-old prediction that the Arctic warming would outpace warming elsewhere on the globe's relatively easy one. The prediction has been verified, and then some. So he says. He explains like Antarctica, the Arctic sea ice is just floating on water with a large portion of Antarctic ice sits on top of a vast continent. Ice, and here is the ads, and this is what I love about his true intentions here. Okay, guys. This ad is a code that he has from Google, and he is allowed to place this ad wherever he wants and whenever he wants. But it's interfering with this reading of this article. Now, why am I mentioning this ad? Like Paul Beckwith, his top comment on most of his videos tell you where and how to go to donate to him. All these AGW people, they don't even want you to look at their work yet. They just want your money. Give it to me now. Give it to me now. Give me your money. This ad is going to be in the way, so I'm going to do my best to read this where we don't have to look at this ad. But it goes on to say, all the processes have been sped up in the last 9 months owing to 2 incredible warm spells this past winter and exceptionally warm temperatures earlier this month. Now, he's talking about the anomaly that we had, the sudden atmospheric warming, which we've already covered. It's an anomaly. Temperatures rose above average. And all that means is that it was above average. Some folks were saying it was 40 degrees above average. Well, guess what? Some temperatures in the Arctic are below zero. So let's say we had a negative average temperature of negative 29 and this thing jumps up 40 degrees one day. Still below freezing. Anyway, more rapid melting and gusty winds have led to the first breakup of thick ice in the north of Greenland since satellite records began in the 1970s. That is lie number 1. And where in this article, besides this stupid... I'd really like to get rid of this ad. This is annoying. It was not doing this earlier, Mari. If you wouldn't mind, because I'd really like to read this because I've got this. This guy is... So what happens here? What happens here is that he starts rumbling about all these supposedly facts. Thank you. I should have thought of that. Oh, by the way, this is Buffalo letting me know I've got 7 more free articles to go before I have to sign up and pay for this shit, which is what it is. It's absolute shit. More rapid melting and gusty winds have led to the first breakup of thick ice north of Greenland since satellite records began in the 1970s. And boy, do I have something for you on that. All right, so here he goes into once exposed open seawater is even thick as ice subject to more erosion. Previously compacted ice was given the nickname the last ice area because it was thought to be the most resistant to the warm Arctic climate. There is not a warm Arctic climate. What are you talking about? We had an anomaly twice. Okay. All right, I'll stop. But here is a Reuters image from the article The Guardian this week of such a huge iceberg dislodged due to mild temperatures and wind. Hey, buddy, I don't want to see your global warming propaganda bullshit picture, okay? Show me the graph that shows the climate is a warmer one now in the Arctic. Show me. Oh, wait, you didn't. Okay. I'll keep going here. In the last century, the global average temperature has risen about 1 degree Celsius. That is also false. But in the Arctic, the warming has been much greater, as expected in early climate models. Some locations, the rate of warming has been astonishing. At Barrow, Alaska, this is what he's saying. The temperature is now running 5.5 Celsius degrees higher than 1979. Oh my God! During the extreme warming of this past winter, the warmest on record in the Arctic. Some locations ran as high as 20 degrees Celsius higher than their respective averages. So Barrow is 5.5 degrees Celsius higher. Now, here's a look at your local forecast. Oh, what's that? It's 36 degrees in Barrow right now, Alaska. Okay. Tomorrow's high is going to be 38, 34 degrees for the low. Sunday's going to be 38, 34 to the low. Ooh, here comes some balmy 42s and 45s. But then we cool back down to the upper 30s on Friday, August 31st. Rolling right along into September as we cool into the mid-30s for highs, low 30s for lows. But Don Paul said that we're running 5 degrees Celsius higher now. What's averaging? Let's look at that. Let's look and see what the average temperature is supposed to be right now. Oh, look at that. The average for September 15th is 36 degrees, so that must mean we got to be at average temp of somewhere around, 45 degrees right now for August? 45 degrees is the average temperature for Barrow. But yet Don Paul, the liar, out there in Buffalo, Fake News Buffalo, says that we're running 5.5 degrees higher than we were in 79. Now, I have to look at that information. But I guess what he's saying is that we were above average in 79. But right now, temperatures, what a terrible example, though. Right now, temperatures in Barrow, Alaska, are below average right now. They're below average. About 5 degrees, not much. They're below average. Here's what we're supposed to have right now. Very cold, by the way, folks, means 45 degrees. Not anywhere in here past September are we expecting any cold temperatures, and nor have we seen anything above average in their weather. Let's keep going. He talks a little bit about the part of the great unknown will be the rate of extent of future weakening, talking about the Gulf Stream weakening because of all the ice that's melted in the Gulf Stream. Talking about how it brought cooling of 5 to 10 degrees Celsius in a short period of time as 1 to 3 years on landmasses bordering the North Atlantic during the last ice age. So much for fine French wine. Yeah, that's hilarious. You know, this guy is oblivious because here's where he comes back. On a serious note, that unlikely event would produce drastically cold winters in northeastern North America and Western Europe. So he wants to minimize the Gulf Stream shutting down. He wants to minimize that we're heading into another cycle where we're going to cool. But not only that, but he's straight out lying and telling people that places like Alaska are, 5 degrees Celsius higher, which I know 5 degrees is somewhere like around, 7 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a lie. They're not running that far above there. And the sea ice north of Greenland. And it's funny because I see that story for the 22nd, and then look at our friends over here at No Trick Zone. Arctic summer sea ice growth trend extends another year. Greenland summer, one of the coldest in 30 years. It says now, Arctic summer sea ice now growing 12 years straight. That's the trend. we talked about how they didn't want to show you information past 79. This is what I'm talking about. This is what set me off right here, folks. So here's where Don Paul is starting. Yeah, I see it. We've lost a lot of sea ice. I got you from 79. But look what you're failing to mention. I know this was before satellite, but this is a reconstruction based on scientific evidence from things like ice cores and sediments, which you use as well in your article talking about the Little Ice Age. Let me find it here. He has a word. Here we go. He wants to use, right here, sediment studies. Admits the mean warming may yet come to some regional cooling due to other phenomenon which has occurred in the past. He's talking about grand solar minimum. He's talking about solar minimums and little ice ages. Lower salinity to the North Atlantic due to freshwater ice water melt, especially from Greenland, can weaken the Gulf Stream. There is good evidence that this has happened long before humankind had an impact on hemispheric climate, and some evidence of sediment studies. It has happened with great rapidity when some unknown threshold in lower salinity was reached. But he talks about ice cores, sediments, blah, 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 right here. And yet this is what we use to get this information. Same thing. Okay? So why aren't they talking about where we were in the mid-1920s? Almost 1930. Why aren't they talking about that? Because if you look back now 90 years, we haven't lost any sea ice or gained any sea ice in the last 90 years. They want to base this whole thing on the satellite data starting in 79. But Don wants to eat his cake. Wait, no, he wants his cake and eat it too. That's what he wants. And he's trying to do that with the discrepancy from 79 to what we're showing you right now. So I thought it was weird. We were talking about Don, how much of a liar he is. They're talking about Greenland is now seeing very cold temperature anomalies as well, a condition that Joe Bastardi of Weather Bell says it will persist a couple of weeks. There'll be very cold weather here the next 10 to 15 days. They're saying that there is ice that is melting up here, okay? That's what Don Paul is telling his subscribers. And it's expected to stay in this pattern for another 6 weeks. Where am I going with this? I'm trying to put this to rest, honestly. I'm tired of hearing about it. Here is the graphs that I wanted to show you. The ice caps sees a second year of above average growth. The blue is current, 2017. Look at this. This isn't by a little bit, folks. It's by a lot. So I'm going to leave this, and here's another graph that shows us here, 16 and 17, from the mean of 11 and 12. Again, above average. And nearly all the country has seen this accumulation. Snow covered, almost 100%, 90%. And then they point out how mainstream media likes to put out things like the Great Greenland Meltdown. But we're showing you right here where it's frozen. Frozen, 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 frozen. Yes, it does melt here in the summer months. But then it starts growing ice back around September 1st, which it is now, by the way. But this was one of the coldest winters on record in 30 years. But yet Don Paul of the Buffalo News and WBKB and WKBW of Buffalo wants to tell you about OMG, oceans melting Greenland. Last week he put out another article. Actually, it was earlier this week he put out an article comparing Super El Nino 2015 to this year. We all know where the temperatures are right now for El Nino. There you go. She is lower than what we was when he put the article out. It was right here. It's lower than what it was. I mean, it looks like to me, forget about Mudaki, we're going to be neutral this year. Point blank. I'm going to say it right now. We're going to be neutral. We're just going to have a good old-fashioned cold winter, maybe some increased snow this year, but El Nino, I don't know. Maybe I'm being foolish for predicting that right now, but I'm going to come out and say we're just going to be neutral this year. That way I can't be that far wrong. Because if we do have an El Nino, it's going to be a really slight one. Modaki is correct term. And this is an interesting picture here. Most of you recognize these two individuals. Interesting meeting tonight with Michael Mann. We discuss or disagree on what drives the climate, but enjoyable exchanging ideas with someone who loves what he does as much as I love what I do. We live in the same town, so everyone can breathe easy now. Central PA is still intact. Ha ha. I think that's the wine talking, honestly. Because if we see back here in the background, not trying to be ridiculous, but we do see some wine. And I don't know if I don't know. I'm shocked that these two would be able to sit down and have a friendly chat about exchanging ideas about their passion, about what they do for a living. Disagreeing on, I'm not saying they have to hate each other, but man, I hope Joe got through to him a little bit tonight. I hope maybe Joe brought some things to Michael's attention that might make him think a little. I doubt it, but here's hoping to it. Just an interesting photo. It's kind of like, kind of like the whole idea of Trump and Kim Jong-un sitting down together. This one I would have never guessed, I guess. I don't know. But interesting photo. I wanted to show it off tonight because I can. Let's take a look at our national radar here this Friday. And if you live in Michigan, especially in the UP, Traverse City, Interlochen, you guys are experiencing some showers and rain right now. It's been going on most of the day. Wisconsin, parts of northern Iowa, those rain showers are diminishing. And earlier I was watching a region here in Illinois, Indiana, where I thought we were going to see some rain in the southwest region of Ohio, but there is a high pressure system there, and the dry air just simply ate all that moisture up. Other than that, guys, we are quiet once again in the United States, the lower 48. Still checking out. I'm not even going to look at the GFS because it's, there's nothing really new to show you on that. We're going to be wet the second half in the Northeast. Here's another look at Lane before we take off tonight. By the way, that wave that I showed you guys last night coming off of Africa, that has vanished. There is nothing cooking whatsoever. And we are now, what, 6 days, 7 days, 8 days away from September 1st. So zero action for us as far as hurricanes. I'm fine with that. After the year we had last year, we don't need any more storms. Here's the current track for Lane. They're still keeping it the same. Actually, it looks like it's veering a little bit further away from the islands than what it once was, but it is deteriorating quickly, but it's taking its sweet old time, which will cause some flooding and overwhelming rain in that region as well. Mari, I want to check in with you real quick. See how the chat was doing tonight. I'm sure everybody was just lovely as always, and just want to say hello to Mari, guys.
It's Friday Night Live, Jake. We got quite a few people in here. Rob's going to be sending us some more documentation on your ice rant from the Buffalo News. I was telling everyone in the chat how much I adore you arguing with the local weathermen. It's totally entertaining. And I was informed by some of our viewers that we should probably record it live. Because sometimes you wind them up when they're on live on camera. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
One time? Yeah, that made me laugh.
She's referring to there was a live feed on Fox 45 Dayton, Ohio, and the local meteorologist there, Jamie Simpson, him and I have a lot of words to say about climate and everything. And I think I mentioned something about, I don't know, I can't remember it, but when he saw me commenting in the chat. The thermometer to the hot pavement and was like, oh, it's hot. But it was funny, though, because when he did the live and then he saw me in the chat, his face had a big smile on it. And then all of a sudden, when he was reading comments around my comment, he skipped mine. I knew he read it because he read the one before mine and the one after mine. But it was funny because right when he read the one before mine, that's when the smile just, he's like, oh God, I got this GSM nut job on my damn live feed again. But I don't troll him. I just say hello and, you know, point out obvious things like, you know, you don't know what you're talking about, stuff like that. But anyway, all right, guys, we hope you had a great Friday evening. We're going to take out of here now, if I can talk right. We will be back tomorrow, Saturday at 4 p.m. with Uncle Henrik. He will be joining us for a show tomorrow night. Until then, guys, have a great Friday evening and an awesome Saturday, and we will talk soon.